Yonatan, welcome to Silicon Rail.
Thanks for inviting me.
No, it's so good to have you here. You know, on your Twitter, it says you took a flight from Tel Aviv to London to start Kano. And that's pretty crazy. I think you came 16 months ago, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering if you could tell us about the phone call you got that made you decide to pretty much flip your life 180 degrees, move countries, and come into this crazy community.
Yeah, so it was actually a phone call. So I was back then talking to Sol Klein, who became my co-founder, one of my two co-founders in Kano. And we're kind of, after a couple of months of talking about why education is changing and why it's interesting, looking at existing platforms like open source software. And then we looked at the Raspberry Pi, which kind of took off and in a matter of 6 months sold 500,000 units of essentially a single board computer at $35 that anyone can buy off the shelf and do something with it. And basically, we're kind of talking on the phone, and the idea was, well, let's meet up in London after a couple of weeks of spinning around ideas on a Google Doc. Let's go up to London for a full day, sit together, you, me, and Alex, who is the second co-founder, and talk about what do we want to do and why it's interesting. And at that same week, I was actually on a reserve duty in Israel. It was a time where south of Israel was being bombed by missiles from Gaza, and I was on a reserve duty. So I was like with uniforms and everything, and we were talking in the evening. I'm like, I don't know if it's possible. Like, I'm still in reserve duty. We scheduled to meet in London on Thursday, but somehow kind of in between the end of the incidents with Gaza and kind of the plans of coming here for 24 hours essentially, I ended up coming. I took a flight. We met for a full day in London, the three of us. And by the end of the meeting, after about 12 hours of talking about what do we want to do and kind of learning more about each other's visions, we decided to basically launch this journey. I came back to Israel. We're talking about like mid-November. And after 2 months, I landed back here and we started the company.
What is the Raspberry Pi, just so we know the beginning of this story? I remember hearing about this years ago when I was in the city still. Someone was like, I'm getting a Raspberry Pi for my kid, and I never looked into it. I think Yonatan's got some props here with his hands. So what do you got, and what is the Raspberry Pi?
So the Raspberry Pi is a single board computer based on Linux that was developed by the Raspberry Pi Foundation in Cambridge. It's a great British invention at $35, and anyone can buy it today. You can buy it online. There are a couple of companies that are selling it.
What year was that invented, roughly?
It was launched in February I think April 2012.
Okay, so fairly recent.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago.
Okay,
it's really recent.
Yeah, really recent, and they sold until today 2.5 million units of this board.
Wow, can you hold it up so we can just
sure.
see it? That's it, okay.
So that's the Raspberry Pi, that's the Model B.
Okay. Little printed circuit board with some other funny colored pieces on there, capacitors, or I don't know.
A processor, that basically turns this into something that you can turn into anything you want. So some people turn it into their media server, into their media center or a computer server, and you can do basically anything you want. You program anything you want. It's open source, so you can basically turn it into any type of computer. Some people turn it into a supercomputer. Some people operate their garage doors and automate it. So it's something that anyone can buy and kind of start making technology. And when we saw the Raspberry Pi, we thought like, wow, this is really, really cool. It's like a really small computer board that we can buy. And what was interesting for us is that at a low cost and in a pretty powerful processor, we can, on top of it, potentially build something that is going to make it more accessible to a wider audience, make it more playful, turn it into a toolbox that anyone at any age, anywhere, can build on top and make what they want, and move from locked, sealed, magical devices like any tablet or iPhone, and actually start creating with technology instead of just consuming. And this is how we started the journey.